Well, Kimberly Guilfoyle, one of the most recognizable people in America, an advisor to President Trump, the fiance of Donald Trump's own son, Don Jr. Kimberly came from humble beginnings, working as a district attorney to becoming a talk show host and now one of the leading voices for MAGA. Earlier, I had a chance to chat with Kimberly, and I asked her whether or not she believes Hunter Biden will finally be brought to justice with this new indictment.
But obviously the time for accountability is long past due. But let's not get distracted by the gun charges. There needs to be much more than just these indictments, because Hunter Biden was at the center of the Biden crime family's foreign corruption scheme. He was the bag man for Joe Biden, and he did much more than lie on a gun application. OK, so let's just be straight up right there. I'm happy as a former prosecutor and officer of the court that we are seeing some moves towards justice here. But let me tell you something, Gina. This should have happened under Bill Barr and his DOJ. So, yeah, we're getting it now finally under Merrick Garland. But it just tells me that they're getting pretty tired of Joe Biden and getting ready to exit him stage left, leg sweep him, or just push him over with a flick of a finger, and to me, as a patriotic American and as a former officer of the court, there needs to be an indictment under foreign corruption statutes, FARA violations, acting as an unregistered foreign agent, and tax charges, just to name a few. Yeah. And I think this is very important that we see this going forward as a country, that they make sure there's accountability, because otherwise all we've seen is just a voracious appetite for lawfare and, punishing and persecuting Donald Trump because they can't beat him in the ballot box. But This just tells me, read the tea leaves here, that it's going to be the end of these two here, as you see on the screen, Hunter and Joe Biden, and accountability is coming.
I really hope so. But, you look at this and you think about how, as you mentioned, D.C. was sure quick to impeach President Trump over a phone call to get to Ukrainians, to get to the bottom of Biden's corruption. I mean, that's what he was really looking for in that phone call. But Joe Biden could have been impeached multiple times already on a list that is too long for me to even keep repeating on this show. Is GOP leadership dragging its feet, do you think, or is this the right strategy to go after Biden with maybe a sort of slower precision?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Let's be honest, right? There's a lot of pressure on Kevin McCarthy, but he has done the right thing with, green lighting this going forward, the impeachment, inquiry of Joe Biden. But quite frankly, this is long past due, if we're being honest, right? The Biden family put profits over patriotism and over this country. They are corrupt to their very core. It's reprehensible, the lengths to which they have gone to undermine, hurt this country by putting their pockets, first. And they put the interests of foreign adversaries over what's good for the American people. That in and of itself is unconscionable. Now, Kevin McCarthy, a friend of mine, he made the right move, but there needs to be follow through, and there doesn't need to be such a big push to get something done that is, the right thing to do. So I'm encouraged that we're moving in the right direction. But, just to lay it out, for the audience, an inquiry is just really, quite frankly, Jenny, the first step of the impeachment process. Right. So evidence is going to be gathered for the articles or charges of impeachment. And, it's serious because it's against a government official. But this is very different when you look at it, the juxtaposition versus what they're doing to President Trump, because there's real evidence, facts and evidence here of corruption. Okay, you can follow the money, you see what's gone on here, versus what they've done for Donald Trump, who's been vindicated in every single thing that they've tried to throw at him. And now he's facing four, new indictments, essentially with 750 plus years potentially behind bars. It's outrageous. But yet Joe Biden gets to stay in the White House. So, bank records show, these actual facts and evidence, that nearly 20 million in payments were directed to the Biden family members and associates through various shell companies and corporations. And if you follow the Biden family money trail, it takes you directly to foreign adversaries like Russia, like China, like Ukraine, and like Romania. Mm-hmm. So that should tell you something right in and of itself. And the Treasury Department alone has more than 150 transactions involving the Biden family. That is significant when you think about that, 150. just with Treasury alone. And Biden has been caught lying, claiming again and again that he didn't have knowledge of Hunter's dealings, but that is a lie. He's been caught red-handed. And plus, we're also learning today about the apparent intimidation tactics by Hunter's lawyers against the IRS whistleblowers. Don't forget that, Gina, who called out the political interference in the Hunter investigations and were punished for it. And that's what we see over and over again. But, this has to be the first step in a series and succession of charges and indictments and accountability. Mm-hmm. And it has to go all the way up to the top, to Joe Biden himself, to the DOJ with Merrick Garland, to the head of the IRS, head of the DOJ, all of the above, FBI. And that's why there needs to be a complete, cleaning of house in 2024.
Looking at the bench of GOP folks running in the primary, none of them obviously can even have any chance of beating DJT, but do you see promise in any of them for the future? Or are you of the opinion, as I am anyway, that it's a mistake to do anything other than just get behind the obvious nominee, Donald Trump? I don't understand, Kimberly, why any of them need to be in this race, pulling even the slightest amount of resources away from our obvious nominee.
Agree.
Okay, well then that was an easy.
It's so frustrating to me because it is very clear, Gina, because what matters is the American people, right? The American people that want to put America first and that actually want a competent fighter, someone with the requisite skill set, competency, physical and mental acuity and ability to be in the office of the president or the commander in chief. Okay, the American people have spoken. Our party has spoken, and they want Donald Trump. There's nobody that's even a close second. And quite frankly, that's not surprising because there isn't anyone with his skill set and ability that's done the job. And actually, we know what we're going to get. There are no Donald Trump policies without Donald Trump. Right. You can't have an imposter or a second best or a stunt double or whatever a stand-in. And that's all you would be getting with somebody like DeSantis, et cetera, or even Nikki Haley, all of the above. Tim Scott's a nice guy. Only person I've seen there that I think has some, compelling kind of, interest with people like him, Vivek Ramaswamy. But again, not ready to be president of the United States, et cetera. Maybe, a cabinet position or something like that. But it's pretty obvious. And I was there in person at the debates. I'll be there in person at the debates at the Reagan Library in California coming up in a couple of weeks. And we'll see more of the same. There's nobody there, worth their salt that's able to sit there and be the commander in chief on day one and take us running in the right direction that we need. And we need to actually make sure, and it's not just about the office of the presidency and the presidential election, but we've got serious races for the United States Senate, for the United States Congress, and people need to pay attention and wake up and take note of which elected Republicans and which 2024 candidates are coming out strong for Donald Trump. I'm paying attention. I know you are, Gina, and supporting the impeachment of Joe Biden and which ones are being weak-kneed and waffling, because there's just no time for that. You're either, with us and with this country, or you're not. And DeSantis, quite frankly, has been one of the weakest. I'm sorry to say that about our governor here in Florida, but just not ready to be president. Yeah,
I think the strongest thing any single one of them could do for their future, to secure their future in Republican politics, is at the next debate take the opportunity to say they're stepping down because all resources need to go to Donald Trump right now. There's been a lot of speculation regarding who he will choose as his running mate, though. If he asked your advice, KG, who would be on your short list?
It's funny. I am asked that quite often. I have talked to him about it. But, I've always loved, and this is not like, a big reveal thing or whatever, but I've always loved Secretary Ben Carson. Dr. Carson is fantastic. He's been unbelievably loyal. He's incredibly smart and talented. He has a wonderful relationship with President Trump, and he's never wavered in his support of the president or of the country. And I remember an amazing moment when I was at Fox News and covering the presidential debates, and Ben Carson missed when they called the name, and everybody just pushed past him and went like that. Donald Trump stopped and waited and let Ben Carson go out and put his hand on him and was like really, really nice. And I thought, that's a nice relationship. I'm going to watch this going forward. But, I think he would be a real asset. But there's other people out there that, people like, and maybe it's Tim Scott. People have talked about Kristi Noem. Some people like, Carrie Lake, Byron Donalds. There's a lot of different people out there that would be really great. Robinson, of course, as well. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. He definitely hasn't made his mind up, but I will tell you something. He's paying attention because, by the way, that's the only thing that's sort of left open because Donald Trump is going to be the nominee. It's just a matter of who's going to choose as his running mate.
Yeah, keeps going up in the polls. All right, last question. It's more obvious every day that Biden won't make it to Election Day. So we keep hearing the name Michelle Obama. Do you think she could be the actual Democrat nominee? And if not her, who? And with just about a minute left.
I think it's incredibly possible. I think that the Obamas are running things as it is between, Susan Rice and Valerie Jarrett. I think it's only a matter of time before Joe Biden is pushed aside. No one wants Kamala Harris, so they have to get rid of both of them. And you'll see somebody like, maybe a Michelle Obama coming in at the last minute because God knows she probably doesn't want to campaign, or maybe Gavin Newsom. I'll tell you, he wouldn't be telegraphing and talking about it and taking these public positions and talking about debating DeSantis, et cetera, if there wasn't a sort of slight nod from the party, because he's a party guy and he will make sure to stay in lockstep with the Democrats, just like when he did not decide to run for governor and let Jerry Brown go in again. And he instead chose to run for lieutenant governor, which he won handily, which was, by the way, my advice to him at the time.